Hi and welcome to the Roast Recap, the episode where we take a look back at all the week's news. And what kind of a week was it? Well, there's war in Iraq, tension in Eastern Europe and Ebola spreading. But we did get some new Apple products, so I'm going to say 7 out of 10. First though, here's Mark Humphries with a review of the first year of the Abbott Government.
This weekend marked 1 year since the 2013 federal election. And in the words of someone watching a David Lynch film, what the is going on? Before the election, Tony Abbott said this would be a no surprises, no excuses government. Well, I think we can all agree this is a government of no surprises. Just ask one of the knights and dames next time you're on the way to pay your $7 GP co-payment. Or the uni students who'll pay 100 grand for a degree. Or the poor people who just found out they don't actually drive a car. Don't worry, you can get a lift in a broken F-35 jet. And that's not all the government's given us this year. There's an immigration policy that didn't just stop the boats, it stopped the compassion. A climate change policy, which is more like a full-time clean-up Australia Day that pays people less than the minimum wage, a minister for women with more women in his immediate family than in his entire cabinet, and an attorney general who wants to look at your metadata without actually being able to explain what that is. He may not be interested in your right to privacy, but he's got you covered on your right to be a bigot. Happy anniversary, Coalition. I got you some cigars. You can use them to celebrate the end of the age of entitlement. And then there's the opposition. Who could forget about the Labor Party? I'll tell you who. Everyone. They're not just faceless, they're invisible. Says a lot that the most exciting thing to come out of Labor in the last year was a 4-part interview with Paul Keating. That's because they're led by a man who doesn't seem good for anything except piss-weak catchphrases.
Bill Shorten refers to Joe Hockey as Foghorn Leghorn during his budget reply speech.
Foghorn Leghorn? You're in the House of Representatives in Parliament, not Class 4A in primary school. Bill, I've got a catchphrase you should try out. Policy alternatives. Happy anniversary, Labor. I got you a rhyming dictionary. You've got another 2 years of catchphrases to come up with. And then there's the Greens, the party that's for the reduction of non-renewable fuel sources, but against increasing a tax on petrol. If you're not going to use your power to help the environment, what are you going to use it for? More YouTube hits? Let me know when we can elect Charlie Bit My Finger. Happy anniversary, Greens. I got you a V8 Holden Commodore. Fill her up! But luckily, even if Labor and the Greens fail, there's the minor parties to fall back on. You've got Ricky Muir, whose highest qualification for Parliament is his driver's licence. Bob Day, who puts family first but same-sex families last. And David Leyonhjelm, the gun-loving Liberal Democrat who got elected on a platform of being first on the ballot sheet. And then there's the Palmer United Party, the cherry on top, the Titanic that could really do with an iceberg. Jackie Lambie, you're worried about China invading. How do you think we feel about our Senate being invaded by you? Glenn Lazarus, the former NRL player, will come in handy if the Senate ever needs to have a scrum. And Dio Wang, well, Dio, this speaks for itself.
How would you describe your politics before you joined Palmer United?
My politics? Zero.
Give that man a seat in the Senate. Vote Dio Wang. I have zero politics. And of course, Clive Palmer, a cartoonist's impression of a billionaire that somehow came to life. Is anyone a greater personification of the state of Australian politics than a mining billionaire who was able to repeal 2 taxes that affected his business interests? Happy anniversary, Clive. I didn't get you anything. You've got $1 billion. Go buy your own gift. So, in case you were wondering, that's Australian politics in the last year. We've got a government of surprises held to account by an invisible opposition and a bunch of senators who couldn't negotiate themselves out of a paper bag. Can't wait for the next 2 years on Team Australia. Isn't that right, Captain? For the roast, I'm Mark Humphries.
And many more. Now, from a look at the beginning of something, this current political term, to a look at the end of something, the United Kingdom. Despite heavy campaigning by British leaders, there's been a recent swing towards the Scottish independence movement. And with a referendum to take place next week, we had a look at what could be a potentially very tricky breakup.
Fine. If he wants to leave, I'm not stopping him. You know, we've only been together for about 300 years now.
She's controlling. She doesn't let me have my own space.
Oh, don't be like that. Look, I know I've been kind of on again, off again, but I always win you back.
Oh, by getting rid of my friends. Do you remember William Wallace? She dragged him behind horses, disemboweled him and chopped off his head. That was a bit extreme, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a big romantic gesture to get you back, darling.
You couldn't hire a skywriter. I'm going and I'm taking the oil and the gas reserves.
You know, oil doesn't last forever. Then what'll you do? Export haggis?
Or all that scotch I've got that everybody loves. Also, you know those Trident missiles you're storing at my place? Well, you can pick them up in the morning.
But who am I without you? The United England, the British Isle, the Uncommonwealth.
You'll be okay, Britain.
But I won't be Great Britain. You know, I've been hurt too many times. America, Australia, Tuvalu. They all left me. I can change. I'll give you increased taxation powers. You like that, don't you, babe?
You still got Wales and Northern Ireland, okay? I'm sorry. Farewell, old England. Forever.
I'm having a royal baby.
Is it mine?
Well, that's up to you.
Kiss him, you fool! And if Scotland does become isolated from the United Kingdom, perhaps someone will be able to patent it and make some money out of it. Oh, you haven't heard? Yeah, that's totally a thing now, as we saw the other day when the federal court allowed the patenting of a gene whose mutation causes breast cancer, a move that could make the testing of the cancer cost $3,000. And while $3,000 is a lot of money, most people will be forced to cough up because you can't put a price on health.
Unless you hold the patent, Tom. Look, I've had enough of your "my butt is a registered trademark and can't be reproduced without my permission" arguments. As an enterprising amateur geneticist, I believe I should be able to patent any part of the human body I discover. My hand, by the way.
Even if your patent restricts access to research and potentially life-saving tests?
Look, it's only restricting if you can't afford to pay me thousands of dollars for it. And if we don't allow companies to profit from discovering human genes, then why would anyone bother to do any more research?
To save millions of lives, you know, go down in history as the person who cured cancer?
Yeah, sure, that sounds great, but you know, if medical research was better funded around the world, scientists wouldn't have to patent everything. You can only be so motivated by the greater good when you spend half your time filling in grant applications.
What about Jonas Salk? He came up with the vaccine for polio, a disease that is now virtually eradicated. When asked who owned the patent for the vaccine, he said,
The people, I would say. There is no patent. Could you patent the sun?
Wow, that's really beautiful, Tom. That almost brings a tear to my eye.
Oh, Nick, I'm glad to hear that.
Do you know what actually brings tears out of my eyes and onto my hideously expensive suit? According to Forbes magazine, Salk would have been richer by $7 billion if his vaccine were patented.
It's a new low even for you, Nick.
And speaking of despicable things I've done, have you been wondering why your hearing's going and you suddenly have an insatiable urge to roll your socks up to your knees?
Who?
On the way in here, I passed two sticky people, and I bought the patent for the gene that controls how fast and in which direction you age.
So the gene is mutating?
Up. I'll tell you for $3,000.
Nick, you know I make 1/3 of a show on a public broadcast. I don't have that kind of money.
Your loss. By the way, you might want to get that baby tested as well. You don't want to be surprised when you give birth to a Benjamin Button.
When? I did actually end up giving birth. Happy to report mother, father and baby are all doing fine. And speaking of fine, speaking of damn fine, Apple announced their latest products this week, one of which was the new Apple Watch, a wristband accompaniment to the iPhone. I don't want one. But you know what? We've all survived this long without a watch that reminds me I'm fat. I just can't wait to see how Apple tries to sell this to us. Take my money! Take it! We'll be right back. Of course, the Apple Watch isn't released until next year, but in preparation, I'm destroying all timekeeping devices. There we are. Oh, God, crap. How am I going to know how to tell the time? How will I know when to, eat? and sleep and go potty and end the show. When do I end the show? Is it now? I think it's now. Is it now? Is it now? Is it now? Feels like it might be. No, the credits. I'll wait till I can't see them. Is it now? Maybe it's now. I burnt it. No, it's not now. Oh, I know what that means. Potty time.